Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. We are going to the NFC East. If you haven't listened to our previous ones we did NFC West, AFC West. We're jumping into the NFC East now. Go check those out. Stay subscribed. Don't miss a single thing we do here. We got a ton of content coming your way. So smash the subscribe button, hit the like as well. And let's get into it, Tyson, because we have, in alphabetical order, the Dallas Cowboys starting it up here as they get two first-round picks in the 2026 draft. And the first one was Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State. Their second one was Malachi Lawrence, the edge rusher from UCF. Their third-round pick, Ja'Shawn Barham, edge rusher from Michigan. Fourth-round pick, Drew Shelton, offensive tackle from Penn State. Their second fourth-round pick was Devin Moore, the cornerback from Florida. And their third and final fourth-round pick was LT Overton, the edge rusher from Alabama. And their seventh-round pick was Anthony Smith, the wide receiver from East Carolina. Some notable names here, notable schools for sure for the Dallas Cowboys. What do you think of what they did on draft day?
3 edge rushers in 3 days. I think that's exactly what the Dallas Cowboys needed, and that's something that I think a lot of their fans are going to be happy to see. There's a ton of help coming along the way, on the defensive edge. Brad, this draft showed us how little most people know about what's going to happen in the draft. There was guys, Deshaun Stribling went 33rd. People didn't think he was going until the 5th. There was all this, Xavier Thomas went, and he wasn't even supposed to get drafted, that kind of stuff. So everyone's an idiot, except all offseason, all we heard, okay, so the Cowboys could trade up if there's a defensive guy they like that falls, and they're probably a trade down candidate at 20. And they did both those things, and they walked out with who they wanted, this whole time. So Caleb Downs, the cost to get up was minimal. They only jumped a spot, and they secured themselves getting the guy who, a lot of people think, if not the best player in the draft, probably the second, him and Jeremiah Love would be the top 2 guys there as just pure football players. And then they went and they got Malachi Lawrence trading with the Eagles, who went up to 20. That was what they would have, if you could have asked Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones the night before, who are the 2 guys you want to walk out of the first round with, they would have said those names.
Yeah, I think they did a good job there. Caleb Downs, you're going to get him at 11. This is like a consensus top 10 guy for sure. Top 5, absolutely, if you're talking about pure prospects. So we get him at 11. Another example, Tyson, of really good safety prospects falling in the draft for kind of like no reason, because how good have these safety guys been who can't miss? Really good for their teams. So we'll see if Caleb Downs can continue that. Drew Shelton, the offensive tackle from Penn State, we'll see. The Cowboys used to have the best offensive line for like 5 years, and they really haven't been. It hasn't been that case for a while. I'm not sure if Drew Shelton, if he's going to be a tackle at the next level, he's going to kick in the guard. We'll see. I got a lot of eyes on him because I'm a Penn State alumnus. Was good on the left side for Penn State during his career. I'm not sure if he can handle it at the professional level, so we'll kind of see where he ends up. And I know a lot of people have LT Overton circled, the edge rusher from Bama. I don't know, Tyson. He seems like a tweener to me. We'll kind of see where he falls. Overall, I like what the Cowboys did, though.
Well, we'll get into the Giants here in a second. I know you, and you might not say the exact same thing, but yeah, Dallas crushed again.
They did. They had a good draft. Let's get into the Giants, Tyson. I mean, man, first-round pick. They have 2 of them. 𝐷𝐸 Reese was their 5th overall pick. Francis Maioga, the offensive tackle from Miami, was their 10th overall pick. So some notable ones there. We broke those down and discussed them on our first-round draft analysis that we did, where we dove into everything in the first round. And the second round, they go back and they get Colton Hood, the cornerback from Tennessee. Third round, they draft Malachi Fields, the wide receiver from Notre Dame. They had 3 sixth-round picks to close this thing out. The first one was Bobby Jamison Travis, the defensive tackle from Auburn. Second one was offensive tackle J.C. Davis from Illinois. And then they closed out with Jack Kelly, the linebacker from BYU, who I actually think is a good day 3 pick. It'll be interesting to see if he can stick. But what do you think what the Giants did here? Because it's a lot of flash.
I think similar to what I said with the Raiders, where like if Mendoza hits, it doesn't matter. This was a pretty big deal for the Giants to have 2 top 10 picks. And if you can hit on both those, 𝐷𝐸 Reese was the guy, 12 months ago, where it was like, well, if it's not a quarterback that goes 1, it's going to be 𝐷𝐸 Reese. And he wasn't, the first non-quarterback off the board, but he didn't slide very far, and he put a ton of stuff on tape to support the fact that this dude's a monster. We'll see what happens here. Kayvon Thibodeau is not being traded. That's what they say. That's fine. But him and Maioga, those are the 2 guys that if they hit, the Giants have set themselves up with a cornerstone on each side, hopefully for 10 years for them. And if they don't, then it doesn't really matter who Malachi Fields turns into or Colton Hood. And so that's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, and before I circle back here, I mean, Malachi Fields is a big body wide receiver that you're going to get for Jackson Dart. So that's the offensive help that I know a lot of Giants fans were looking for, and they were kind of surprised that they didn't draft a Jordan Tyson or one of these wide receivers with their first 2-round picks to help Jackson Dart, who looks like your franchise quarterback. We'll see if Malachi Fields can be that guy. I think he was a little bit underwhelming when he transferred to Notre Dame compared to what he did at Virginia, but we'll see. Colton Hood could be a really good cornerback for him. So you get some value in rounds 2 and 3. I'm with you. It's what the 5th overall pick, what your 10th overall pick do. Rumors have it, and kind of reporting says that Francis Maioga is going to start at the offensive guard. Taking him 10, an offensive guard 10 is a little bit risky from positional versatility and value. If he can play right tackle for you down the line and kind of move into that role, okay, that's fine. We'll see, Tyson. Is he a day one starter in the interior and kind of moves to the outside? We'll see if that happens. But Arvell Reese, he has to hit, though. I mean, he's got to be an elite edge rusher for you, or at least an elite, two-way linebacker type of Micah Parsons type of deal early on.
If you are like of a certain age, there's some people that don't remember when guards were small, but it's just wild to hear like, oh, they're going to kick the 6'6", 330-pound guy inside. That would have never happened in 2008. You know what I mean? It's just, it's wild.
Philadelphia Eagles, the next team we're talking about here. Tyson and I also do a separate podcast called Filthy, where it's Philadelphia Eagles centric. And so go check that out if you're an Eagles fan. If you tune in to hear our thoughts on that, we did a lot more extensive discussion on their draft and their first round pick, Mekhi Lemon, on that one. But we're going to touch on this because this is our NFL one and we have to. Mekhi Lemon taken in the first round, 20th overall. Eli Stowers, tight end from Vanderbilt, taken in the second round. Markel Bell, the offensive tackle from Miami, in the third round. Cole Payton, quarterback factory, the QB from North Dakota State, taken in the 5th round here. Micah Morris, offensive guard from Georgia, taken in the 6th round. Then 3 7th-round pick for the Eagles to close things out. Cole Wisniewski, safety from Texas Tech, was our first one. Bernard, the defensive tackle from Nigeria, right? Like the International Pathway Program, freaky athlete, taken in the 7th round, like I said. And then to close things out, Keyshawn James Newby, edge rusher from New Mexico. Where do you want to go with this again? I'm curious how you want to dive into things on a kind of a quick hitter basis.
We've talked about limit at length. We both think he's going to be a good player, and that everyone knows AJ's out the door, so that makes sense. We've talked about Stowers a bunch. Markel Bell is somebody that caught some eyes. He's 6'9" and he's got 8-foot-long arms or whatever, and that sounds awesome until you get hit with the speeder on the edge, and that's something I think you have to be a little concerned with when you're 6'9" and center of gravity, all that stuff. So I'm not as high on this pick as some other people, but we've just talked about the Eagles so much that I'm struggling to know, what I should dive into. I think Cole Payton has the potential to be like the most fun 5th-round pick here, but he's never going to get to play.
Yeah, we've done a lot of Eagles content, so if you're kind of disappointed, Tyson ran through it. We both think Mekhi Lemon's going to be really good. He's going to be a day one starter. Eli Stowers, I think, can be a real weapon for the Eagles. And then beyond that, you're just kind of hoping that these guys stick on the roster. Markel Bell, we both don't think he's the Lane Johnson replacement that we thought potentially coming into this draft the Eagles were going to take. So I think that you kind of kick the can a little bit down the road once again. I mean, if Bell turns into that guy, great. Tyson and I have some concerns on that. I think Micah Morris is the most interesting one for me. Offensive guard from Georgia, potentially is going to be able to replace one of the guards on the interior. We'll see. I'm not so sold on that. Very rarely does a 6th-round pick kind of step into what many people consider a top 5 offensive line unit and be the day one starter. And then Bernard, that's what everybody's going to focus on. If he can hit, I mean, the guy is just a freak athlete. So we'll see if he can learn how to play football. That's really what you're asking for there.
What timeline are you putting on?
I want to see Bernard. Something in 2 years.
2 years. I was going to say 3.
But then he's done with the contract pretty much.
That's what I think too. It's a tough thing. It'd be awesome if it worked. It's just the fact that it worked with Mailata is a once in a lifetime thing. And if they do it twice, the Eagles are moving, headquarters. And they're not going to be Philly. They'll just be the rest of the world's favorite team.
Right. Let's close here with the Washington Commanders. Not a huge draft for them in terms of the amount of draft picks, which I actually think is not great for the Commanders, who is one of the oldest teams last year. But they draft Sonny Styles with their 1st-round pick. Tyson's got thoughts on that. We discussed that again in our 1st-round draft episode that we dove into. and we'll revisit that here. Antonio Williams was their 3rd round pick, wide receiver from Clemson. 5th round pick was Joshua Josephs, the edge rusher from Tennessee. 6th round pick, 𝐾𝐮 running back from Penn State. Another 6th round pick was center Matt Gilbin from Michigan State, and their 7th round pick was quarterback 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞 from Rutgers. What'd you make of what the Commanders did with their limited picks?
Well, we've talked about the Sonny Styles thing already. So I think Antonio Williams was like one of the only guys, a skill position player in this draft who went somewhere that you're like excited about. You know, it was like him. There's a handful of others that I'm forgetting, but it was really weak landing spot wise. And I think Antonio Williams is a guy you can be excited about if you're a Commanders fan. Brad, there's no way that Bill Krosky-Merritt and Rachaad White are keeping 𝐾𝐮 off the field. I think that this is a dude that's going to play.
I love 𝐾𝐮. The dude is a grinder. He just puts his head down, he works, and he picks up yards. I'm curious how his style is going to translate to the NFL. I think it's going to work, though. Now, he's not an elusive, he's going to break tackles type of burner. And, sometimes that can concern teams at the next level. And I think that's why he went in the 6th round. Tyson, he's going to be productive. Like, he's just going to come in. He's going to get the yards he needs to get. And that's what you're honestly asked to do when you're in the NFL. It's like, hey, dude, we don't need you to just try to be Barry Sanders if you're not. Like, go get the yards that are designed for in this play. And I think he's going to do that. Sonny Styles, if you're curious what we're talking about, both Tyson and I, there's some bust potential for Styles. I'm not necessarily saying that he's not going to be able to play in the NFL, but, like, what if he's just not as good as people say because of his athletic profile that he blew up at the combine? We dove into that again. So if you're like, what are you talking about? This guy's a freak. Well, there's the other side of that coin too. And Antonio Williams, Tyson, it's exciting. They freaking need him to hit because outside of Terry McLaurin, you could have gotten your guy, Jaden Daniels, another weapon with your first pick, knowing you didn't have a 2nd round pick, and you went with Styles. Antonio Williams has to hit for you, in my opinion, here.
I think so too. And, it'd be easier if people could find out where Brandon Ayuk was. This is like everyone's just waiting for him to go to Washington, but if nobody can get a hold of him, they need Antonio Williams in a bad way. Because after Terry, it's going to be Antonio Williams, and then that tight end room is taking its 𝐃𝐿. We're still waiting on Ben Sinnott, and that doesn't look like that's ever going to happen. They're old, man, across the board, and so this is a really big, important class, I think, for the Commanders, and they just didn't have any ammo.
Okay, final thoughts here. I think it's pretty clear that both you and I, and I'll speak for myself, and you can kind of close it, but both you and I, if you can kind of read between lines what we're saying, we like what the Cowboys did. We like what the Giants did. You get 2 first-round draft picks, you better hit. There's a chance that they might have hit on both. And that's what you're looking for if you're the Cowboys and if you're the Giants, if you're trying to chase down the Eagles, who I thought had a really good draft as well. I mean, they replaced somebody who's coming out the door in A.J. Brown with Mekhi Lemon, who we both think is going to be good. And then they go get other weapons, and we'll kind of see from there with the roster it's already filled in. And then the Commanders, disappointing for me. I mean, you don't have a ton of ammo, like Tyson just said. You draft Styles, who could be awesome. He could also not. And then down the rest of the board, I don't really see anybody who's going to be a day one impact player besides potentially 𝐾𝐮. But that's a room that's already full. So, question marks across the board for the Commanders.
Yeah, it just like it had the potential, like for Dallas, Caleb Downs could lead your secondary for 10 years. Arvell Reese could be awesome for New York for 10 years. Mekhi Lemon might, be awesome for the Philadelphia Eagles for 10 years. And then Sonny Styles would have to be that for the Commanders for them to keep pace. And again, I just get nervous about a guy that has been consensus top 10 since we all saw how athletic he was without pads on, and it wasn't that way before. And if he's awesome, and we, look kind of silly. But I think that 3 of the 4 teams got, guys that I know or I'm pretty confident are going to be really good players. And Washington's the one where you just you better hope.
All right. That is going to do it here for the NFC East. Like, subscribe, and share the show on the way out. Like we said, we got a ton of content coming your way, so stay subscribed so don't miss a single thing. Smash the like button on the way out. Share it with a friend, an enemy, your group chats, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you when we talk to you. So keep on rolling with the content. Speak to you soon. Peace.